give it up to the youth. Low to the squad if we win or we lose. It is in our veins, that orange and the green when it through and through. Cause you know we run it, you squad versus ours, no they don't really want it. Our pedigrees deep with pros in abundance, get ready for the storm cause the hurricane's coming. Let's give it up to the youth, low to the squad if we win or we lose. It is in our veins, that orange and the green when it through and through. Cause you know we run it, you squad versus ours, no they don't really want it. Our pedigrees deep with pros in abundance, get ready for the storm cause the hurricane's coming.
All right, what's good? Welcome to another Kings on the Daily, powered by Word Sports Media. I'm your host, Marty. So the Miami Hurricane definitely handled business yesterday. In a game that was kind of tight, kind of like really, I guess you could say, I think due to the weather, I think due to the weather, it's more of what Miami was able to do a little bit. I mean, you got to think Miami kind of like actually started out hot in the first half, and then the game kind of slowed down a little bit in the third. Now, you got to give Florida a lot of credit with their defense because they didn't want Miami to get big plays on them. And so Miami had to improvise by using a run game and use some methodical passing in the intermediate sets of the field. And that's something that Miami, if you've been watching this Miami Hurricanes team for the first 3 games of the season up to now, you see that they can win in multiple ways of the game, whether if it's a close in your face game with the Notre Dame game or the blowout games, against Bethune-Cookman and UCF. And then you got to think you're an in-state team. Florida's an in-state team. Same players they go all through the same schools and everything, so they know each other. So it's going to be battle testing. DJ Legway, he's not a good quarterback. Period. He's not. But let's look at some stats real quick before I get into post-game conference with Mario Cristobal real quick. If you look at it, Carson Beck he didn't have a really good day. He actually was 160 yards passing through the air. He was 17 for 30 with 1 interception, and that came in the third quarter and everything like that. DJ Legway, he only had 61 yards passing. Just poor. But the Miami Hurricanes led on their run game. Shalimar Brown had 80 yards. And to me, I love his game, man. He is really good at the passing game, too. He is really shifty and quick. Very quick, very quick. Mark Fletcher, what else you could say about Mark Fletcher, man? 24 carries, 116 yards. They was averaging over 4, almost 5 rush attempts on the average through the game. Shalimar had 2 touchdowns. Fletcher had 1. Then you got to think Shalimar Brown in the passing game, as I alluded to, had 4 receptions for 53 yards. He was great out the passing game. Lofton had a pretty decent day. Malachi Tony had a quiet day. CJ Daniels, not so good. Not so good day for him. Keelan Marlin, pretty good. But even though that the Miami Hurricanes didn't have a really great passing game, a really good passing game, but the run game stood tall. And the wide receivers, when you got wide receivers that can block downfield, that ain't afraid to put their helmet into you, you're not going to have any problem with your offense or any phase of your game because your wide receivers is going to make sure that you're able to run, you're able to do things that you need to do. So me personally, I love stuff like that. I've always been a very good blocking tight end and also a very good receiving tight end. Now, if you look at it, first downs, Miami had 21 that's 21 to 7. They almost been the same score of the game. Third down efficiency, Miami was 8 for 16. It was 1-1 for fourth down. Total yards 349. They also, like I said, passing wise, interceptions 1, rushing differences. So it's nothing really much to stand out there, but Miami did what they needed to do in this game. Now the game did kind of got in the third. Like I said, the game get kind of close because Florida did manage to put a score on the board. But as Miami has proved, they know how to wear you down. And I mean, you think about it, the offensive line and the defensive line of Miami just leaning on you all game long. It's going to do one or two things. Like I said, um, Florida did had a little success running the ball with number 13, Jaden Barr. I mean, he had 46 yards rushing, but and that's what helped them got into scoring range a little bit. But nevertheless, I still think Miami. I think the weather probably played a little bit more, or being more conservative, the way Miami wanted to play in this game. If the weather wasn't so much of a factor, I think Miami would have. We probably would have been able to see Miami spread the ball out a little bit more than we were accustomed seeing them. Let's go to. I want to go to a quick press conference of Mario Cristobal. Talking early in the season. But I'm gonna show you this little clip of um, Michael Irvin before the game.
They'll be undefeated going to Red River. Meanwhile, speaking of rivalries, Michael Irvin has the honor. They resurrected this tradition here. Jimmy Johnson did it for the Notre Dame game. Michael's getting serious about that.
Man, Michael Irvin is wild. He is wild. He is wild. But you gotta love it though. You gotta love it. All right, so we're just gonna get a little clip of the press conference real quick.
It was only 3 points. So I like our progress. That's the best way to state it. I love the fact that we're doing a much better job of blocking out all that noise and that rat poison that people always talk about, and that we're focused on doing our job and doing right and playing for each other and for the University of Miami. So we've come miles, but we have miles and miles to go.
Coach, the run game, Marty and Fletcher both, I think it was almost 200 yards between the two of them. With Carson not playing as he probably wants to play for them, and to be able to have them to rely on, and for you guys to be able to see how much they can produce when needed.
Yeah, the shame of it is that Marty actually had a touchdown. That was a mistake, which again, it happens. No one's, well, yeah, we're mad, but you know what I mean? It happens. Those two guys have been extremely physical. They've been extremely diligent about their craft. They do a great job getting their pads down and getting the muddy yards. I mean, Florida plays a lot of guys in the box, right? They come with different pressures. They send from 4 down to odd. So they give you a bunch of different looks. And typically there's an extra hat that ends up in the box. So they did a good job getting those muddy yards after contact. And when we had even numbers, I thought they did a good job of, getting some, 10, 12, 14-yard gains that helped us create, that second half separation towards the end.
Can you pinpoint anything about Carson and Ibel?
I think they're really good at coverage. I think they spread the net really well. I think their combo coverages, their match coverages, they did a good job, and they've done a good job. They've held. I think they allowed one touchdown or two in about 3 games or so. So you got to give them credit too. Okay, I'm sure there's, when we watch film, we saw the iPad. There's some throws we want to have back, but like anything else, and like anything else Carson has done here, when it doesn't go quite the way he wants it to, he continues to just forge forward. And I got to mention the crowd. That was awesome. We asked for an asylum. They gave us that. And they affect the game. They impact the game. They impact our energy. They impact our players. Certainly impact all those 100+ recruits that are here today. So a huge shout out to them.
You talk a lot, Coach. You talk a lot about. Okay. Sure, no problem.
Mario, you mentioned the team kind of getting in that rut, second, third quarter and such. Just how much of that, you said they kept their composure? How much of that's player-led? How much of that is coach-led? Just how do you balance that?
Well, that's program-led. You know what I mean? We had a lot of pre-snap penalties. That's the ultimate killer, right? You get off of schedule. All of a sudden, you got a good 4-yard run, and it's 2nd and 11 instead of 2nd and 6. So when you get off, I think we had 6 of them, if I'm not mistaken. That's very uncharacteristic of us. Yeah. And we've done that now for a couple of weeks, and we will fix that. Those guys have a lot of pride. So, honestly, it's everybody led. Certainly, I don't think anyone in there cares about receiving the credit for it. I think those guys just are so cohesive and do everything so together that they just always find a way.
Those pre-snap penalties, like
Yeah.
the weird snap infractions. Did you see what was happening there?
Yeah, they're moving. They're stemming, and their move call is pretty pronounced. Now it is legal. There's no complaining here. I'm not trying to say that anything illegal. It is just it triggers a certain type of reaction by an offensive lineman at times, and we've been very disciplined about that before. And we've got to get back to those ways. And I know some of those guys are kicking themselves in the rear for that, but we'll get that fixed. I thought their response to start digging in their heels and sinking their hips and moving piles in the fourth quarter, I thought they took over the fourth quarter from a physicality standpoint and really did a good job finishing drives and pounding the ball.
You mentioned this game is going away, and obviously people would like to see it continue, but how much did you all stress being the team to come out on top, knowing you will have bragging rights? I don't want to say forever, because it may be played again, but how important was it to win?
The rivalry itself took care of all the intensity that comes with a rivalry. They got word and they got wind that this was the last regular season one scheduled, at least for now. So that adds a lot to it. Yeah, bragging rights forever. We've been able to maintain home victories against them, I believe, since 1977. Okay, that's really significant. You don't want to be the team that gave away that win. But I do believe this. I think what had most everything to do with the way that we dug in and played better towards the end was just playing for each other.
All right. So with that being said, Miami is off in 2 weeks. The Canes are off next week. They get prepared for their big in-state matchup in Tallahassee against the Florida State Gators. As you listen to Mario Cristobal, he talks about the pre-snap penalties, how prideful that this team takes into being perfection, and making sure they held themselves accountable. The Miami Hurricanes got to get into the habit of being more sound and disciplined, because with that big game in 2 weeks, it's going to show you. Miami could come out of that Florida State game with a victory in 2 weeks. I don't think Miami will lose another game this season, and I could bet money on that. I think they are going to get back into the break. They're going to get healthy. Florida came off of a victory yesterday. Florida State came off a victory yesterday, but Mario Cristobal, you could tell he's very detailed, very emphasis on what the Canes still need to do and what they still need to work on. And the same thing, like he said, Carson Beck, he made that interception, but it didn't bother him. He found other ways to move the pile. He found other ways to get down the field for a score. And that's what Miami going to have to do. Now, will the weather be bad in 2 weeks? Don't know. But I think if it's on a dry field, I think Miami gets a close victory. I think it'll be another close victory with them, like the Notre Dame game. So let me know what you thought about the game with Miami and Florida. Miami, they handled them. The game was close than what the score indicated, but I never felt that Miami was threatened. I never felt that Miami was in trouble. I think they just knew that they had to buckle down and separate themselves. And that's what great teams do. They always find a way to separate themselves, no matter what the score is or how close the game may seem. So until the next episode, lock in, subscribe to the channel, Canes on the Daily on YouTube. And with that being said, I'll catch you on the next one.
Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't want to miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats. You know that we gotta run it back, whether on the field or the court. You know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying.